Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jagjaguwar, a review guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video, and in this one I'm going to be covering the brand new Foxygen album entitled Seeing Other People. So Sam France and Jonathan Rado, better known as Foxygen, are an indie rock duo formed in 2005. This is their 6th studio-length album, and they've really borderlined on so many different genres it's not even funny. Indie pop, baroque pop, power pop, experimental rock, just plain old rock, psychedelic rock. There are a lot of things going into their sound. Jazz, electronics, classic rock, doo-wop, boogie music pretty much. And I'm gonna be honest straight off the bat, I've never been able to get into a Foxygen album, and it just lies solely in the hands of how melodramatic a lot of their projects feel. This kind of Broadway, theatrical vibe that they go for that is just so over the top, so baroque, so snappy, sounds like something out of a Shakespeare tragedy. A lot of times I'm not really able to get behind that because it makes any emotion that they're trying to convey and any of the neat, flashy instrumentation that's just flashing by you seem a little bit invalidated, a little bit phony, a little bit unbelievable, and it's really sad because they are very talented. I was hoping that Seeing Other People would be the album that just clicked, that I was like, yes, this is what I've been missing out on. They're so good. This is an amazing duo, and I'm gonna be honest, that kind of happened with this. Seeing Other People is just 9 tracks, 37 minutes, in and out very quickly, and I will say this is definitely the band's best project, in my opinion, and listening through this is my favorite indie rock album of the year thus far. Right off the bat, though, one thing that I can see a lot of people really complaining about, and something that I noticed, but I don't think is a detracting factor, is Foxygen does drown in their influences a little bit. They are a very unique project, very talented, very technically proficient, and they make some great compositions. But there are some moments on this album that feel like right out of a Rolling Stones song, that feel right out of a Journey song, especially Journey. A lot of those synth passages really remind me of the 80s material from Journey. There's a lot of moments that feel like they're ripped out of Pink Floyd, and as a big fan of Pink Floyd, I can feel the Pink Floyd isms bleeding through this material so hardcore on so many passages with these floaty psychedelic rock, just hipster-ish type of riffs that come through with the guitars, and some of those just sticky bass lines and rolling vocals that are going over feel so much like something off of like Dark Side of the Moon, something off of Wall. But yeah, there are those Foxygen melodramatic feels that carry on throughout the entire album. Like on the track Living a Lie, where his vocals are very cracky, they're very vulnerable, they feel very emotionally poignant, but once again, those Pink Floyd-isms really come through in a strong way. And they're different enough to where they're interesting, but I swear, this floaty guitar riff that just goes through, it feels like something that someone would take LSD to and just have a massive, like, trip to. But beyond the, like, chamber pop-esque baroque instrumentation and the nice vocals that carry on this album, the lyrics are pretty clever at a lot of times. Sometimes I feel like they can be a little bit dry, but a lot of times they're clever, they're funny, they're very raw, they're blunt and in your face, and delivered with almost this punky feel to them. Like, I don't want to paraphrase, but like on the track Face the Facts, I want to live in the times when they put cocaine in Coca-Cola. You better face the facts. You're never going to be a famous rock and roller now that it's over. Sometimes you just screw up and you can't take it back. I gotta face the facts. I'm never going to see your face again. I'm never going to dance like James Brown. I'm never going to be black. And I'm never going to get you back. This kind of raw, dry humor that carries on is delivered. I know I'm smiling, I know it's funny, but the way it's delivered with some, like, genuine, heartfelt emotions, in my opinion. Love the minimalist instrumentation on the track Mona, very rolling. I love the little, like, nice little, the rickety percussion that carries on, and the guitar line is beautiful. Once again, the vocals are cracked and vulnerable and emotional. I do like the way that the vocals are delivered across this album, because they have almost, I said it before, but a punk feel to them almost. This kind of raw, just brutal aesthetic to them, but they're so low-key and just moody. And as if this album didn't have a vintage aesthetic already, the way that they're mixed, this kind of reverbed out thing, anyone that listens to this is going to understand what I mean. This 80s type of mixing to it, which really adds to that kind of aesthetic. Seeing Other People, the self-titled track, is just this triumphant power pop, art pop victory royale of just soundscape. It is amazing. I love the layered instrumentation. I love the climax and the crescendo of his vocals as it reaches into that last leg of the track, and how all of the instrumentation swells up into this massive power play that feels like a play where everything's working together to create this powerful final scene. And it's only track 3. The thing is a nice kind of noise pop sound piece. It's not super noisy, but it has this chaotic feel, this vibrant feel that recalls some of the works of, say, an Elton John or a Billy Joel. I also get some whiffs of David Bowie on this track, the way the vocals are rolling over this dinging piano instrumentation with this massive locked-in soundscape right behind it, but the pianos are really the instrument, in my opinion, on this track that leads it through. Some nice, generous bass that's thrown in, some nice, generous synths that are thrown in. News is super old school. It's fairly long, over 5 minutes. Love the aesthetic of this track. It's absolutely wonderful. Love the lyrical themes on this track where it's talking about how I don't really got any news. I've just been doing nothing, just been sitting at home, like basically saying like, I've not really been doing that much since we separated, or at least that's what I get from the track. Once again, this is one of the tracks that really remind me of Journey with this opening synth line. Oh my lord, this is so Journey inspired. There's a track I'm thinking of, Separate Ways. Separate Ways. It reminds me a lot of Separate Ways. But that doesn't stick around because this song goes super jammy, super funky, super bassy and piano driven. Wonderful kind of 80s inspired vintage pop music. Once again, loving the vocal performance. It works very well over this instrumentation, very vibrant and very emotional. And even though he's not holding these notes, even though he can crack a little bit and go off the beaten path with vocal structure on this album, it somehow just maintains its composure. Even with voice cracks or when he's going all over in notes, it just makes sense for this, and it's not the first time Indie's done that. The conclusion, unfortunately, is probably my least favorite track on the album, and it is The Ender. Fitting name, honestly. I don't like the kind of chaotic instrumentation of this track. It feels a little less well composed and well thought out as some of the really good instrumentation on this album, and his vocals sound a little bit weird. I don't like this kind of distorted up in your face effect that they put on it. It really takes away from the vibe of this album, where you did have those kind of 80s inspired mixing techniques being put on the vocals. It really just came as a surprise and not necessarily in the best way possible. Not the worst thing I've ever heard, but certainly not the best thing I've ever heard, and certainly not the best thing I've ever heard by this album's standards. So Foxygen is not the first indie pop, indie rock, art pop band, whatever you want to call them, that has incorporated these old styles into their own aesthetic and adopted them as their own and kind of contracted all these influences together to create a massive composition. But I feel like they've always been one of the ones that have done it the most tastefully, and even though I haven't been able to get into their previous material, I feel like this album is the first time that it's really clicked with me what they're trying to do. And as a fan of a lot of the bands and artists that they have taken a lot of their influence from, I think they add enough spice, enough zest in their own style into these styles to make their own style. I'm going to be giving this album an 8 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Please stay for the end screen. I'll link some videos you might be interested in. If you've heard this album, you can let me know in the comment section below what you thought of it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you haven't already, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. And I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, Review Guy, and I'm signing off as usual, saying farewell.